We're going to do a lovely print, and there's no point me just saying, oh, it's a lovely print. I've got to tell you why it's a lovely print. This print is for sale for £400 in England, plus collection costs. It's on our website for people who want to have a look at it. It's a fantastic print. I'm going to, as I say, I'm going to try and prove to you why. The print is a copy made in about 1740 of an oil painting done previously by Anthony van Dyck, who was Dutch. Anthony van Dyck became English. He was knighted by Charles I and ended up dying in England. So you have one of these characters who was a continental artist who gravitated towards England and worked for the aristocracy, the royalty, the crown. So rather like Canaletto, who came to paint in England, and Rubens, Van Dyck did a lot of pictures in England as well as on the continent. And often, because of the period they were painted in, they have the zigzag lace collar. Sometimes on the continent and England you'll see the frilly round collars as well. And Van Dyck did a lot of portraits. So you've got here a print copying an oil painting which was housed from the painting of St Anthony van Dyck, 5 feet wide by 4 feet, 4 inches high, in the Royal Palace of Kensington. So you've got this sort of knock-on effect where you have an artist from the continent comes to England, does a painting for the king. Later on, someone makes a print, 1740. The print was probably in a book or binding, kept closed in a library, and later it was released from the binding and framed. This was framed in about 1940, 1950, something like that. Could be a little bit earlier. And the reason it has this label is because it was done by a firm called Colnaghi, C-O-L-A-G-H-I, and Colnaghi. And they were Italian, it was an Italian firm from the 18th century, started in the 18th century in England. It's changed since, but it's still going now. And probably the best, certainly was the best print seller in the world. And they would put this label on. This label proves, beyond any doubt, it's the real thing. Because you can buy prints now, modern copies of anything you want, more or less. So in years to come, when you're buying prints or maps, it's going to be nice to have this sort of thing here. So to read it to you, it says, Charles, Prince of Wales, James, Duke of York, and Princess Mary, engraving by Robert Strange. The engraver in 1740 was Robert Strange. It says here, like often it does in the same place on these prints, Robert Strange sculpted, Robert Strange engraver. After Anthony van Dyck, copied from a painting by Anthony van Dyck, says here, Antonius van Dyck, Epius Pinxit. Epius Pinxit means something to the effect of copied from a painting by. Often you'll see the word Pinx, P-I-N-X only. And this dealer, P&D Colnaghi, are selling the collection of the Duke of Northumberland. So the Duke of Northumberland would have had a library full of books or folios or drawers full of these things, and he was having his house changed or moved or whatever, wanted to sell them all. So he got Colnaghi to sell them all. Or it could have been an heir who didn't want it or wanted the money to pay some bills. So these people were dispersing the effects of the Duke of Northumberland. And they are described, self-described as experts, valuers and dealers, paintings, drawings, engravings, etchings by the old and modern masters, 14 Old Bond Street, London. With a very short phone number and the details for telegram. So you can date it from the label to a degree. And the wording, the nomenclature is old. So you can tell from just the choice of words, it's an old piece of framing. Anything framed in this yellowy plywood with this brown strip on the side, almost always a good print. It's quite a good telltale sign. You have the print, it has the margin still, it has the dedication, it's had a small tear, it's been stuck to a piece of card, it's been put in a mount, and it's been put in this rather nice simple frame. It's in good condition, it's glazed, and as I say, it's £400 for anyone who wants to buy it. It's a good investment because of the label. That's the thing, that's the key to this item. Decoratively, it's square, it's large, it's good condition. It's very interesting. So I'm going to go through what we're looking at. This character here is a boy, and there was a time in England and Spain, for example, some of the young boys in the family would wear girls' clothes, just one of those things. In fact, if you look at Edwardian photographs of the royal family in England, you'll see female-looking clothing is often used by the young kids, even in the Edwardian era. So you've got Charles II, who wasn't then Charles II, he was then Charles, Prince of Wales. You've got James, Duke of York, in the girls' nursery outfit. You've got Princess Mary. When there was a civil war in England, there were only 2.5 million people in the middle of the 17th century, in the 1650s. There were only 2.5 million people living in England. When there was a civil war, 6 in 100 people were killed. And what happened was the parliamentarians, the Protestants, the ultra-Protestants, took over and killed anyone who got in their way, and got rid of the king. So his father, Charles I, had his head chopped off. And by the time his father had his head chopped off, this family and this person was in exile in France. So he became Charles II in exile when his father was killed, but didn't become a proper king till he was returned. And he was returned to England because parliamentarians found in their parliament that half of the people liked the royalty and didn't like the fact that the king had been removed. So the parliamentarians, because it was a democracy, had to bring the king back from France. But of course the king was brought back with less power and less land, and the balance was much more even between Parliament and the royal family. And that's the same arrangement that exists now in England. So when he died, when Charles II died in 1685, James took over as the King of England, Scotland, Ireland. So this is the sort of thing, it's a very interesting thing. It's about the sort of related to the Civil War, it's related to the father, Charles I, Charles II, it's related to that time. And as I say, a lot of these artists would come over, and it's the same in the music. Same in the time of music. Handel, for example, who was German, became English. He was naturalised and came over to write for the crown. So you've got this lovely print. It's on the website if anyone wants to have a look at it. Thank you very much.